You ever wake up thinking the worst thing that'll happen to you is cold coffee? Yeah, I wish. That October morning, I was just standing in my kitchen, mug in hand, half listening to the rain, when I saw it, a plain white envelope, no logo, no return address, just my name, and inside the kind of words that turn your stomach. Your property is now under our jurisdiction. Not a question, not a request, just a demand. And at the bottom, in neat little type, Michelle Ashford, HOA board president. No signature, no seal. Hell, it wasn't even on fancy paper. But it might as well have been a punch in the gut. You know, folks love to swap HOA horror stories. If you've got one, drop it below, because I promise you, you're not alone. But see, this house was supposed to be my escape from all that mess. 3 beds, 1 bath, nothing fancy, just a patch of wild grass where the manicured lawns ended and the real world started. I bought it cheap, 20 grand under market, mostly because it sat at the dead end, out past where anybody cared to mow. And I did my homework, trust me, checked the deed, checked the county records 3 times before I signed. This place was outside the HOA. No fees. No friendly reminders about mailbox colors. It was mine. So when that letter showed up, I stood on my porch, still in my pajamas, coffee cooling in my hand, reading it over and over like it might make more sense if I squinted. Your property is now under our jurisdiction. And then, get this, $250 a month for view tax benefits derived from landscaping and aesthetic maintenance. I'm telling you, I nearly spit my coffee all over the steps. Who writes this stuff? I went inside, pulled out the folder, deed, survey, plat, the whole shebang. My line ended at the fence post and the old drainage ditch, clear as daylight. But the letter, it didn't care. It sounded official, sure, all that legal mumbo-jumbo, but it wasn't. No county seal, no notary, nothing but a name typed at the bottom like authority was just something you could print out. I felt this chill in my chest. Not fear, not exactly, more like, oh, so this is what we're doing now. Somebody was testing me. Let me back up a sec, because the next thing I did was drive straight down to the county recorder's office, documents in hand. Estelle was working the desk, nameplate, and everything. She didn't have time for nonsense, but she was kind about it. Pulled up the records, boundary maps, scrolled through legal descriptions. My property, plain as day, outside the HOA. She even circled it in red pen for me. No one's filed to amend the boundaries, she told me. You're in the clear. I drove home in silence, just a printout in my jacket and a million thoughts rattling around. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, Googling view tax, aesthetic maintenance fee. Nothing. Tried every variation I could think of. Nada. No law, no code, just empty legalese. The rain started up, the kind that usually puts me to sleep, but that night, it just made the house feel smaller. I kept thinking about that letter, how it wasn't just ignorance. It was a gamble. Whoever wrote it was counting on me, or someone like me, not bothering to check. Just pay and shut up. I was still at my desk, half the night gone, when I heard a sound, metallic, sharp, out of place. I walked to the window, and there it was, a black SUV parked at the end of my drive, headlights off, engine idling. Then, bam, floodlights flared up, turning my yard into a crime scene. Couldn't see the driver, just a shadow. They sat there, not moving, just watching. 10 minutes. Then the lights snapped off, and the SUV rolled away, tires hissing in the rain. My heart was hammering, but my hands were steady enough to snap a picture of the plate. That wasn't random. That was a message. I checked every lock in the house, looked out at the patch of empty land behind me. Nothing worth fighting over, unless you're me, and it's all you have. Didn't sleep much that night. Kept replaying the letter, the SUV, the fake fee. The more I thought about it, the clearer it got. This wasn't about money. It was about control. Somebody wanted to see if I'd fold. And when I didn't, they'd up the ante. So I started documenting everything, dates, times, copies of letters, photos. If this was going to be a fight, I was going to play it smart. By sunrise, the rain had stopped, the air felt cleaner, but I knew better. The game had just started. And, surprise, 3 days later, another envelope shows up. Final notice, it said, claiming I owed money, threatening legal action if I didn't pay in 7 days. But here's where it got real, Second page, a map. Not the county's, no. This one had my house inside a bright red line, drawn to include my lot in the HOA. But it was a forgery. No drainage ditch, no fence post. Held it up to the light. Pixelation, blurred edges. Someone had grabbed the real map, doctored it up on Photoshop, printed it out, and tried to pass it off as the real deal. That's not just shady, that's criminal. Back to Estelle. I put the fake map and the real one on her desk. She checked the county file. Same as before, nothing changed since '98. But the forgery? Digital fingerprints all over it. You know what this is, right? She asked. Forging public documents is a federal offense. She wanted to file a complaint, but I held off. Needed to know more. Needed to see how deep this rabbit hole went. That night, I dug into Michelle Ashford. Social media, public records, everything. She painted herself as the neighborhood's guardian, posting about standards, complaining about people who didn't care. But under the surface, the story was different. Old posts, lawsuits about trees blocking her view, cases she lost, neighbors selling and leaving, all quietly, all after some run-in with her HOA. 4 families in 3 years, all on the edge of the HOA boundary. I started to see the pattern. Pressure, fake fees, threats. Most folks just gave up or moved on. I wrote Michelle an email, polite, direct, attached the real county map, told her my property wasn't in her jurisdiction, asked her to withdraw the letters and leave me alone. She replied in 2 hours. Our map is an updated internal version. Your property benefits from our landscaping. Failure to comply will result in a lien. No apology, just doubling down. I printed it, added it to my folder. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was a case. That's when things escalated. Next morning, chain wrapped around my gate, heavy padlock. Someone had snuck onto my property in the night. I called the cops. 2 officers showed up, polite but uninterested. Are you having a dispute with your HOA? One asked. I explained again I wasn't in the HOA. You should probably get a lawyer, he said, already half turned to go. So I cut the chain myself, kept the pieces for evidence, then called the number on Michelle's letter. She answered on the 4th ring. Her voice was smooth, rehearsed. I told her about the chain, about the law she was breaking. She didn't even blink. We're ensuring community safety. Your vehicle is blocking sight lines. Our updated boundary map says otherwise. You can dispute it if you're willing to pay the legal fees. $250 a month, she said, a small price for cooperation. I told her I wasn't paying. She said, I wish you the best of luck, and hung up. Ice cold. But now it was war. Michelle posted a photo of my house in the neighborhood group online. Caption, new resident refuses to follow community guidelines, putting neighborhood safety at risk. Comments rolled in. Some folks attacked me. Some asked questions. A couple even defended me, but I didn't respond. I just took screenshots, saved everything. Let the record speak for itself. Finally, I sent my files to a lawyer, Preston Halstead. Real estate disputes, HOA nightmares. This was his wheelhouse. He got back to me fast, wanted to meet. Next day, I walked in his office, dropped the folder on his desk, and he just looked at me and asked, how far are you willing to take this? I didn't even hesitate, as far as it goes. We went through everything, letters, maps, emails, the chain, photos of the SUV. He'd seen it all before. Other victims. One had paid just to get peace. Another sold for a loss. One fought for 6 months, spent thousands, gave up. One they didn't make it through. That one hit hard. This wasn't just about money or pride anymore. So we filed suit, fraud, extortion, harassment. Sent the evidence to the DA for criminal charges. Preston warned me it would get worse before it got better. And boy, did it. Michelle ramped up the attacks, online, in person, through the mail. But this time I wasn't alone. Preston had pulled footage from a neighbor's camera, caught her SUV outside my house at all hours. He'd talked to other victims, subpoenaed documents, lined up testimony. The case was building. Preston suggested we bring it all to the public at the annual Harvest Fair, the big event Michelle ran every year. So we set up a table right at the entrance. County map, forged map, timeline, testimonies. People started to notice. Some looked away, others read every word. One older woman, trembling, pointed to her own statement, $1, 200 in fees for maintenance she never asked for. Another guy told the crowd how Michelle's post cost him $50,000 in lost home value. The crowd grew, and then Michelle herself arrived, all blazer and fire. She tried to play it off, called us liars, said she was just protecting the community. Preston held up the two maps. If this is legitimate, you won't mind sharing the board meeting minutes and bylaws and discovery, under oath. For a moment, her mask slipped. A woman from the crowd piped up, if his property isn't in the HOA, why are you charging him fees? Michelle blustered, then stormed off. A reporter showed up, took pictures, interviewed us. By evening, the word had spread, and the neighborhood couldn't ignore the truth anymore. 2 days later, I got a call from a detective. She'd reviewed the evidence and was opening a criminal case. I handed over everything, the chain, the letters, the video, the receipts. Are you ready for what happens next? She asked. I said I was. Was I? Who knows? But I wasn't backing down. It all came to a head on a Friday morning. 2 police cars parked outside Michelle's house, a whole crowd watching as the officers cuffed her right there on the porch. Somebody streamed it live. She tried to protest, claimed it was all a mistake, but nobody was buying it. The comments section exploded. Some cheered, some griped about overreach, most just watched in silence. Me? I felt empty, honestly, just drained, but also relieved, like something finally let go. The legal process dragged on. Hearings, filings, discovery. Michelle's lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but the judge wasn't having it. Forging county documents isn't a misunderstanding, he said, dry as dust. In the end, Michelle took a plea, admitted guilt, got probation, a fat fine, paid restitution, banned from the HOA forever, had to apologize in open court. The apology was hollow, but it was on the record. The judge laid down the law, and that was that. Afterwards, things started changing. The HOA had an emergency election, brought in Geneva Pritchard, quiet, methodical, one of Michelle's silent victims. She posted all the financials, made every meeting public, set up a watchdog committee so nobody could ever pull that stunt again. She even reached out to me, apologized on behalf of the whole board. It was official. My property was free, outside their reach. The other victims got their money back, plus damages. It didn't fix everything, but it helped. The city council took notice, brought me in to speak. I told them the only thing I wanted, people should know their rights, learn the difference between real authority and fake power. The council gave me some kind of certificate, but honestly, I was just glad it was over. Neighbors I'd never met stopped by with cookies, offers to mow the lawn, little kindnesses that meant more than they probably realized. One day, I got a call from a publisher. They wanted me to write a book about the whole thing. I hesitated, but eventually said yes. Not for the attention, but because people needed to know you can fight back. You don't have to take it. The book was tough to write, digging up all that old fear, but it was cathartic too. Folks started reaching out, sharing their own stories, saying I'd help them find the courage to stand up. That was worth more than any check. A year later, autumn rolled around again. I stood at my window, coffee in hand, looking out my patch of wild grass. Same as it ever was, but I was different. Stronger, a little more wary maybe. I put up a cedar sign right on the property line. This land is free, not subject to HOA jurisdiction. Property of legal owner per county record. Not a threat, just a fact. Neighbors started doing the same. Michelle moved away. Her husband left. The house sold cheap, and I didn't look back. Preston wrote up the case online, shared the story. It took off. People everywhere reading, learning, standing up for themselves. I kept a journal the whole time. One entry sticks out. I thought I was fighting one person. I was wrong. I was fighting fear, silence, the lie that you can't beat the system. But you can. With patience, with paperwork, with the facts. The storm that haunted me that first night, the rain against the roof, the SUV in the dark. Now it's just weather. I stand by my door, listen to it, and feel at peace. This is my home, my land, my story, and no one's rewriting it but me. So what would you have done? Would you have fought? or we just paid and walked away? Drop your thoughts below, and if you've got an HOA story of your own, let's hear it. Because the only way we win is together.